haters say ignore them till they fade away. Amazing they ungrateful after all the game I gave away. Safe to say I paved the way for you cats.
All right, well, welcome, welcome, welcome. I want to say hello to everyone that we have on the line with us. My name is Dr. Tamika Green, and I am a professor here at San Diego State University, and I'm also the director of the African American Mentoring Program. We want to welcome you to this African American Mentoring Program, professional program, Learning Institute. And we have a graduate student and doctorate panel for you today to discuss their experience on the journey to and through graduate school. We started this program, the African American Mentoring Program. I started it back in 2001 because of my own experiences as a graduate student. I felt alone. I felt like I didn't have a lot of mentoring or mentorship. And so when I came to SDSU, I vowed that that would not happen to another graduate student. And so that's why AMP exists. And this panel is the result of a proposal that was submitted by the graduate assistant of the AMP program, Asia Jones. She submitted a phenomenal proposal. And it's because of that proposal that we're able to bring APPLi to you and give you some information and tools about, undergraduate and graduate success. And so I want to pay homage to Asia for all that she's done to make things possible, and to give her an opportunity to just say a few words if she would like to before the program begins.
Good evening, everyone. I want to say thank you for coming out tonight. This is really important to me and as a graduate student myself. But as Dr. Green said, my name is Asia Jones, and I'm a second-year PhD student in the joint PhD program between San Diego State University and Claremont Graduate School. I am doing research around improving Black girl student success through a lens of other mothering and other parent figures as mentors through the academic pipeline. And the way that I'm going to twist that is I'm going to connect hip hop music to the theory to be able to tell the story about what makes it, what we do that can help to be help Black girls to be successful in the educational pipeline through the K through 12 system and also through the college system. So I don't want to take up much time because this esteemed panel of guests we have something amazing to say. And I'm just excited to hear from all of them. They're all amazing individuals. And what I think is most important about this particular panel, we have the voice of a person who is Kiara, who is graduating this year and is going to be entering into a graduate program. And then Eric, who's been here, and then Lindsay, who's finishing up a PhD program, and then Dr. Christian, who just finished dissertation and a PhD program. So I'm just thankful to everybody that's come here, and everybody share with a friend. I've dropped the YouTube link in the chat box. Share with a friend if they want to come on Zoom with us and have a conversation, and feel free. This is a totally safe environment. You can turn your cameras on if you feel safe enough to do that. No pressure, but I'm sure our esteemed panel and myself would love to see your faces virtually if you feel comfortable. And I will now turn it over to our first person, which she's going to be the freshest off the yard. So I'm going to give it to Kiara Pratt-Perry to introduce herself.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Kiara Pratt-Perry. I am currently a fourth-year graduating senior here at SDSU, studying psychology with a minor in cultural proficiency, and I will be entering my master's program this summer to get my master's in school counseling.
All right, I'll go next. Hello, everyone. I'm Lindsay Davis. I'm currently a sixth-year graduate student where I study biochemistry at the University of Texas at Arlington. My PhD work focuses on understanding mechanistic details for an enzyme that's important within tuberculosis.
I'll go next. Hello, everyone. My name is Eric Bratton. I'm a second year astronomy graduate student here at SDSU. And yeah, I'm excited to be here.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Wobane Krishna III, EDD. I am a recent graduate of the University of Southern California, Doctorate of Educational Leadership program with an emphasis in higher education. I currently work at USC in the USC Race and Equity Center as the Director of Workforce and Workplace Equity. Our research looks at how people of color experience and navigate higher education workplaces, which we know to be inequitable, with a specific interest in understanding the mechanisms and conditions that enable their success.
Thank you. So you all see why we're excited about tonight. I want to start off with the first question because, I mean, it's been a while. I know I look about 10, but it's been a while since I got my doctorate degree. But I think about, you know, in that time when I was in my PhD program, and I learned more about how to survive than about the content of my study, to be honest. I can tell you that my real PhD was in navigating the secret society of the academy as a Black woman. And so given this climate that we're in right now, my first question is, you know, how do you stay focused and grounded as a graduate student?
Okay, I'll go first. So again, my name is Lindsay Davis. And so the way I stay focused and grounded is through motherhood. I have a 3-year-old son. And so my time is very limited. So each day I go into work, I'm very focused. I have a list of things that I need to do because I know I have to pick up my son from school. And also having a toddler keeps you grounded. They're not very easy people to get along with. They're pretty difficult at times. And so I use a lot of the lessons that I learned in motherhood to help, and I actually apply them to teaching, mentoring, research, things of that nature.
Yeah, I would echo that as well. I'm a parent. I am a husband. When I started my program, I called myself, my nickname was Full-Time Everything because everything was full blast. So I didn't have a lot of time to play around. And so that handling all those different things simultaneously really kept me focused. I think in my graduate program, I was able to get, if we were comparing my doctorate to my master's, I was able to get papers ahead of time because I just didn't have time to play. So that really helped me to stay focused, those things.
Yeah, from a single person side of things perspective, it's really about the burnout of Zoom. Honestly, that's the new dynamic with the climate of graduate school. It's pretty difficult already with the level of material that you're learning, but it's also, you know, making sure that you don't burn yourself out at Zoom University and making sure that you set aside time, you know, to recover and, you know, regroup yourself for the next week.
Kiara, how do you think you're going to stay grounded as a graduate student?
Right, I'm like, oh, I still have my undergrad experience, but I know for me right now, the biggest thing is definitely having that to-do list at the beginning of the week to make sure that I know what I need to get done and have a timeline for getting that done. I'm like, life is already busy preparing for the summer school right now, so I know it's definitely making sure I have an idea and a plan set for academics and also for self-care and rest, like intentionally implementing that time for myself.
That's good, Kiara. You're already thinking ahead about that self-care and what you need to do to be successful. If there is such a thing as self-care in graduate school, but I know people do it well.
And I think that ties in well to our next question that we were going to bring in anyway. And it's, as you know, there's so many different things that we've been facing as Black students and Black employees. This triple pandemic has affected us in different ways. We've dealt with the mental health of Black folks. We've dealt with the social injustice of seeing Mr. George Floyd killed right in front of us. That's a lived experience that we watched on TV, but it's lived experience for those of us who have experienced that same type of knee in the neck on our jobs, in our classrooms. And then the effects of COVID-19. We've seen so many of our family members or friends or people we know that have passed away during this time, whether it be COVID-19 or other sicknesses and illnesses that play a factor in our life. So as Black graduate students and as a recent graduate of a doctorate program, how do you truly practice self-care? What does that look like, that from a spiritual perspective, from a physical perspective, from the mental perspective? What are you really doing right now in this moment for self-care? And is that such a thing for us?
That is very hard to schedule in self-care. And so the way I practice self-care is I actually just disconnect. I pick one day of the week, I disconnect. And I mean, I disconnect from social media, from work, and I just do self-care things like I have podcasts that I listen to, or I'll have like a skincare routine that I want to get into. So you can make time for those things, but you have to make sure that you schedule it in. My boss always tells me scheduling your fun time first. That way that you're not just, burnt out or just tired of constantly doing, because in this field, there's a lot of deadlines always, and it seems like the work never stops. So you have to find time for you and just take a break.
Yeah, I agree. I would say for me, what that looked like, lots of, especially all throughout my doctoral program, lots of prayer, lots of, I'm like, I gotta take this to Jesus because there's a lot going on right now. Lots of those moments, and those, were efficacious for sure. I think another thing is I kind of have this thing where I like downshift, right? Because I think about my day, from like top to bottom, being a parent, an employee, and all these other things. So many demands of my time. So I think about, okay, does this part of my day requires me to upshift, right? Or does it, or is this a part of my day where I can downshift? And I think about my day, and that was really helpful, right? Especially in completing the program. So I would do things like, you can only really do this in California. Like part of my day, if I'm doing a lunch break, I would actually go out on the grill and grill for my lunch break. Right? Because this is helping me to, debrief, I actually enjoy it. And then when my hour lunch break is back, I'm back on the clock, I'm either writing, I'm plugged in, and people, we're all Zoom, so people never knew that I was doing my lunch break, so it's little stuff like that. That's what I call like a downshift. And then as I'm like if I'm grilling for an hour, 5 minutes left on the clock, it's time for me to upshift, right? Because I know I got maybe 3 more hours in my workday. So it's kind of little things like that that I would do throughout my day, whether it be like starting my morning with exercise, little rewards that were very helpful in breaking my day up and allowing me to like look forward to very practical rewards throughout my day or throughout my week.
Eric?
Yeah, I was gonna say for me, it's definitely been a lot harder this semester to do self-care. Usually I'm good at it, have like my skincare or exercise. But this semester has definitely been hard as I did join a sorority. So I had a lot more things taking up my time. But currently what helps is like waking up and praying and journaling in the morning and at night. Those are probably like the quietest times of my day. And then when I am free from meetings, it definitely is making sure I go outside, take a walk, even if it's just like a 2-minute walk down the block and back. Just getting fresh air, being out in the sun has definitely been influential for getting me through the week. And then me and my best friend just got some I just got some skates finally, and my best friend had it for a while. So anytime that I can really just go outside for a second is pretty beneficial.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely unplugging from the screen definitely recharges you. And unfortunately, I like playing video games, so I'm usually stuck to the screen. That's how I typically take care of myself. I just take a break from just everything and probably just hop on the PS4 and play a little game for like maybe an hour or two and just relax. And after that, probably just go outside. And I have a dog, so I walk him, and I take advantage of that time to, just do thoughtful meditation. Like, okay, what do I have to do now? What do I have to do next week? And, different term goals and things like that. So that's what really helps me as well too.
Thank you, Eric. Dr. Christian, I like your analogy about the upshift and downshift. And sometimes we in the AMP family, we say, let's get amped up. So Lyndon just got us amped up with this question in the chat. He's like, okay, let's get real here. So I love this question. Let's get right to it. So Lyndon, you want to just ask your question and maybe add any preface that you like?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I just, I hear, I'm in Atlanta, and my pastor actually is the first African-American to graduate from Georgia Tech with a PhD in business. And so I hear a lot of nightmares. I have the utmost respect for anyone that has their PhD. I think, Brother Christian, you have become my hero. USC is a school I've always wanted to attend. I could have gone there on a track scholarship, but I wanted to play football, so I went to San Diego State. But have always had a love for the men of Troy and a tremendous amount of respect for all of you. But what I have learned from the many doctoral people that I'm around today is that there's a strong political landscape that you have to navigate. And see, I'm one that thinks he can get by with his intellect, and that doesn't work, right? It sounds like that wouldn't work in many PhD programs. So especially as an African-American, I know that you face discrimination. I know that's automatic in some circles. So my question very simply is, what do you do? How do you navigate that political landscape? And I'm not even looking for the what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not looking for the answer to say, to say stay true to yourself, because I realize sometimes you have to become like a chameleon. So how do you do that?
I'll just jump out there and answer. I think one very practical thing is to recognize that it does exist, right? I think what happens is a lot of people are caught off guard by that reality. It's a reality. I mean, I'm not making a judgment call on it, but it is a reality. The nature of the academy is inherently political, right? It's a reality, right? So the more that you can understand that it is a reality, and like that you don't let it catch you off guard. The second question being now that's a reality. What do I do in light of this? I think one of the things is being solid, very, very solid with your advisor. Your advisor, if you have a really good advisor, they can stand in the gap. They should stand in the gap for you and be guiding you and taking the blows, quote unquote, if there are blows, but they should also be kind of unpacking with you the secrets of the academy, right? Like telling you, okay, yeah, this was Professor so-and-so came at you like this because XYZ, right? So if you're solid with your advisor, I think that will help you to navigate a lot of those political concerns, and also help you to gain, a social capital, so that when you are navigating the academy as a scholar, you'll be prepared to engage those political concerns on your own, and you'll be aware of them, right? Now, if you're not on solid terms with your advisor, that's where it can get a little tricky, right? So they can, instead of being a shield for you, they can expose you negatively to some of those political blows, so on and so forth. But I think one of the most practical things, or two of the most practical things, are one, being aware that politics in the academy exists, and then two, finding a very, very, very solid advisor.
And if I could just add one thing to that, is having a solid advisor is one of the most critical pieces that you will have in this walk. And guess what? And I've learned this, and Dr. Green will tell you this. I haven't always agreed with how she's navigated something, and I don't always like it. But what I've always learned about it is there's some battles that I don't see, that I have no clue about, that I think I know about because I got the best spirit of discernment because I know Jesus the best. I'm his best friend, right? However, there's some battles that I don't see. There's some concerns that I have no clue about. And even though I don't like it, there's something that is good that's going on behind the scenes. And so you have to, when you engage with your advisor, you have to trust at the end of the day that no matter what, they have your back. And if you don't have that trust, then you need to question why that person's your advisor, because you need to be able to trust them. But you also need to be able to trust them, but to even have that difficult conversation. Hey, Dr. Green, I really didn't like that. That didn't make me feel this way. And Dr. Green can come back and say, well, Asia, I know that you didn't like it and didn't feel good. And I don't always have to explain my decision to you. And that's the other thing that we get caught up as graduate students, because, and in the political landscape, you got to explain some stuff to me. That's who I am. Like, you got to tell me from A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But I just really want to hone in on that because I'm only my second year in, but I've learned some very, very critical things from having an advisor that truly has my back and that I can have a conversation with. And then at the end of the day, we can be frustrated with each other, but we don't get off the phone mad with each other. As a matter of fact, we'll end it in prayer a lot of times if that's your spiritual thing or whatever it is you do. But you have to be able to trust the person that is saying that you're your advisor. And if you don't, then you need to rethink that thing and reprocess that thing. I felt that was important to add. Sorry. And whoever wanted to go next.
All right, so I'll go. That was a great question, and I've actually been waiting for that kind of question to come up because I'll actually be the first African American person to graduate with a PhD in chemistry from my institution, and so it's been a very hard battle. But having an advisor who is a champion, someone who can advocate for you, that is the biggest thing that has helped me. And if it was not for her helping me to navigate this unfamiliar space, this the space where I just don't know what to do sometimes. And so having her guidance, her mentorship, and ultimately trusting the process. But Dr. Christian is right. You have to know that it exists to address it. And a lot of times that's not the case here. People don't understand that this program was created in 1993. It's 2021, and we're about to have the first African-American student. I think that we have some work to do, and we have to acknowledge that.
Awesome.
I think then we'll go ahead and head to the next question. As we're, and I'm going to skip ahead to a question because it still ties back into it. And since we're in that area, let's just tap there. As Black students, Black students and recent PhD graduate, can you speak to the experience about the Academy of Learning? I'm not going to say, did you experience racism or discrimination? Because I'm sure you did. But can you tell us what forms was it? Was it blatant? Was it micro? Was it macro? Was it like, I don't know? And most importantly, how did you respond and overcome these experiences?
I could go first this time. Typically, the implicit bias, as you may have heard it be called once, it typically happens through a microaggression. So it's something subtle like, oh, I didn't know, for example, they'll say something silly like, oh, I didn't know Black people do this or something like that. And it's like, come on, man, it's 2021. But anyway, my firsthand experience was, interestingly enough, was about it was a town hall meeting for astronomy students. I think it was all of the astronomy department, not just graduate and students. But yeah, it was a town hall, and we're talking about, because that's when the George Floyd incident just happened, and they made this initiative to decide how to, I guess, outreach better towards minority students. And they made this letter, and it doesn't matter. But specifically towards that experience, one of my, I wouldn't say one of my cohort experienced something. Well, his parents experienced something with Black people, and he felt the need to share it with the crowd. Or we're in breakout rooms, and he felt the need to share it with the crowd. And I was like, okay, I had to stop him right there. I was like, hold on. First off, you didn't need to share that opinion because it's irrelevant to what we're talking about, and it doesn't contribute to the conversation that we're having. And formally educate him, respectfully, of course, on why that isn't okay, and that not all Black people are like that. And it's just interesting because I spent a year with him. We've had group projects and things like that in this astronomy cohort, and I didn't realize he felt like that because he hit it so well. It seemed like we're meshing and we're hanging out and stuff, but I guess he had other feelings and he let it be known. But I just hope that maybe I changed his perspective on how Black people are typically are and different things like that. So that's a more exceptional case. It's usually not like that. That was more blatant case, but typically they're microaggressions.
I also get a lot of microaggressions in my department. I actually have a list here of things that I've been through. I've been in situations where professors didn't want to help me in their office hours, but I knew they were helping other students who looked like them. They clearly were. Also, I tried to join the chemistry graduate student association in our department, and I was constantly excluded from meetings, from emails, from lunch, everything. I didn't exist. Also, I've had committee members who were very unsupportive of me and ultimately tried to fail me. But other students were on the same level when it comes to proposal defenses and things like that. I don't think that these professors should expect us to be perfect, but it seems like they necessarily don't want to work with others. I'm just going to say others. And so all of these things happened to me probably in my first 2 years of graduate school. And so I really self-isolated myself a lot. And I actually didn't even know that I had imposter syndrome. I didn't know what that was. I just knew that everyone around me seemed to get it and I just was stupid. That's how I felt. And that's how people around me made me feel. But eventually I found my tribe. I was able to connect with other graduate students in different departments, and our stories were exactly the same. Some students in our math department, they were getting kicked out of the program for no reason. They were passing classes, they were doing everything they needed to do, but they just weren't up to par. And so, we've had so much go on with our group, but our stories are exactly the same. And it wasn't until we started that group that things kind of gotten better, that they've gotten better for me, in the sense that I have a support system. I have people I can call on who can give me good advice. I have champions, advocates, friends, and all of them are Black. And so it's an inclusive environment. So it wasn't until I sought out that organization that my problems started to diminish.
I'll go ahead and chime in here. I would consider myself quite fortunate that I can't recall more than one charged or racialized instance. And this is uncanny. And the reason I say that is because I know as a Black man, as a Black student, somebody who studies racial equity, I know that is rare for somebody traversing the academy. But my experience, I do recall one instance where, I kind of, one of my peers or colleagues, I felt, we were doing some group projects, and one of my peers or colleagues attempted to discredit me in a way that I don't think was right, or attempted to it was just like so off. And I was like, okay, now I have to like, quote unquote, prove myself. I have to show you, I gotta dunk on you, so to speak, just to show you that I know what I'm talking about. And I was angry. I remember being like, processing it with my homie. I was so angry that I had to do that. Like, this is somebody that has actually, that I've been in class with, that has seen me talk and dialogue and quote unquote hold court. So there really should be no question. In addition, I'm a third year or a second year, or whatever I was, and you're, wherever, you're just 3 classes into the program. So I just was like this is quite unnecessary. I felt it was racialized. So now I have to come back and quote unquote prove to you that I actually know what I'm talking about. But it just kind of made me angry that I had to go through that exercise. But those are, minor. I would count that as minor compared to the horror stories that I'm familiar with, that I do hear from others traversing the academy.
Yeah, I've definitely been fortunate enough not to have experienced any like blatant racism or discrimination in my classes so far. But, the higher up you go, I'm sure it definitely does get a lot worse. But I know for me, being a psychology major, when you do get to those courses where you are talking about social psych or cultural psychology, or even right now I'm in a class about like stereotypes and prejudice, there is that just kind of intentional walkover of the experience that Black people face, and how actually blatant and intentional a lot of times the experiences we face are. And it's just always, for me, kind of concerning walking in, seeing a white man teaching cultural psychology, or the psychology of stereotypes, and then trying to explain it, but it's not even really backed up by a lot of evidence that they can really grasp or explain in a appropriate way. Luckily they haven't kind of talked off the marker or done anything that's like, okay, I need to correct you on this. But it's definitely a little discouraging, having the dominant race teaching people the topic of discussion of what we experience as a community. So yeah, I think we definitely need more like Black psychologists and courses on Black people. They want to teach about, the experience of people of color, but they really have no idea. So that's my piece.
Thank you for that. Thank you, all of you. I mean, I know we could be here all night long, and I'm just bringing in my head and remembrance about some of the experiences that I had in my program, and that I still have, to be honest, that we still have. But one of the things that I'm encouraged about is that despite all of the things that we've gone through, despite the microaggressions, the discrimination, we still continue on. And for some folks, maybe we're crazy. I know my family, you still in school? Why are you still in school? But for some reason, we continue on. So I want to take us to the part of, now we're kind of upshifting, Dr. Christian, about why are you doing this? Why are you continuing the fight? Why are you going into graduate school? Why, even though you've gone through so much, why did you continue on, or why do you continue on? Why is this a goal of yours?
Well, I'm continuing because I finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. I did not think I would make it through this process. And so, yeah, I finally see, but also I'm prideful. I was so scared to go home and say I failed. That's just what motivated me to just keep coming back every day. I did not want to give up. I didn't want to give in. I didn't want the people who said that I couldn't do it actually see me not do it. So for me, pride.
For me, I would say that, I think about, as I look back over my life and I was actually talking to my brother-in-law about this. Like, I did not plan any of this, right? So here I am in Los Angeles, California, a graduate of USC, I did not plan any of this. I didn't. I could not have arranged it to work out in the way that it has for me. So I'm very fortunate in that way. So the reason I say that is because it gives me confidence to keep going forward, right? I think about, you know, the ways that have been made for me, and my story is that I'm from New Kent, Virginia. Who's ever heard of New Kent, Virginia? No one, right? They didn't, you have?
I'm
Right,
from Richmond. I'm from Richmond, Virginia.
Look at that. Look, the world just got smaller. But when I tell my story, I tell people that, you know, they didn't even pave my road until after I graduated high school, right? So I'm this little country boy from New Kent, Virginia. And here I am in Los Angeles, California, completing a doctorate. Went to Penn State for my master's. Never didn't plan that out until after under. So these are things that if you ask me when I was 15 years old, would I go these places? No. So that's one thing that keeps me going. The other thing that keeps me going is I think about when I was doing my research, and my research is pretty special to me. How many Black people that I interacted with, and how many people told me it was like therapy. No one had asked them about their racialized work experiences, right? Like, I mean, the amount of folks who wrote me an email after my interview, or who said it in their interview. I might actually do a separate study on that. But like, that gives me a lot of confidence to keep going, because we need it. We need each other. And so, yeah, those two things and many more things give me a lot of push to keep going forward.
Well, for me, of course, I'm obviously starting the journey, but I know just with the goals that I have and the influence I want to have in the education system, I need to go to school. So that's kind of like the first and foremost. To be able to get that access, I have to make sure that I have, you know, the accolades that people respect to get me to the places I want to be. So that's definitely a push, but I know it's just, we need to see more Black people that are achieving and excelling in academia. And showing that we are able and more than capable to excel in higher education. And so it's definitely my goal to show that we can excel and succeed, and really achieve these goals regardless of, you know, the hardship that we are going to face. It's just important to be that representation. So that's really my biggest thing, is just being able to get that access and show people that we are capable. And, you know, as I go further on, there's always new goals I have. So now I'm like, ooh, do I want to get my PhD? Like, there's always new things that come up, because, you know, I want to make sure that Black people are excelling in the education system. And it's just important to get to those points to really show people that they can excel. So, yeah.
So then that takes me to this question. I want you to go back, each of you, because I'm going to speak it into existence. Dr. Early said that he's thinking about considering a PhD. I want you to go back and talk about 3 simple things. What was your fear? What was your actual thought process of I get in? And what do you remember about when you got that letter saying you were accepted into the institution that you wanted to go to? Tell me about how that was, because that's going to be able to encourage somebody else and that wants to go to this journey. And then the second thing is to either Walter or whoever else is listening here, what keeps them on this journey? And me too. Eric, you made eye contact, so I'm gonna throw it to you.
All right, sounds good. Well, when I first got the letter, I was excited because I took a year off of school. I was working in real estate, and I wasn't sure if I was like, you know, a year's a long time, so can I even get back into school, especially with my field. So I was definitely excited that I came back into academia because I just wanted to come back to my field and I just wanted to try out a different field to see how it was, to see how the work force is. And I was like, yeah, maybe I should hop back into academia. So I was really excited when I first got that letter. Um, and what keeps you going, honestly, when I first got in, I met so many wonderful people. Like it was crazy. Like I was just like, okay, let me just talk to any Black people I see. So the first time I saw like talk to a Black person on campus, because when I first got on, I talked to my cohort. We didn't have orientation, but of course they're all white, given the field that I was working in. And so I've just been talking to white people nonstop over and over. And so I was like, okay, well, let me find out where the Black community is. So I saw this congregation of Black folks. I think it was for the bonfire. Mind you, this is pre-pandemic, so it was okay to be in congregations. Congregation of Black people, and they're at this entity called the Black Resource Center, which I currently work for as a graduate assistant. And I talked to one of the people there, and they were getting ready for a bonfire. And he was like, "Oh yeah, we're doing this, this, and that. Here's my contact information. Just hit me up whenever, whatever." So I was like, "Cool, cool." So I was like, "Okay, what is this place?" And then he told me, "Oh, it's the Black Resource Center. This is where all the Black folks come out, hang and chill." And I was like, "Cool, cool." So I did a little more research, looked it up on the internet, see what its hours were. And I just went up there one day, and it happened to be another event. I believe it was like a game night or something. And everybody was just friendly to me, introducing me to other people and stuff like that. And yeah, I'm just some random Black dude walking up in there, and everybody was just so nice to me and stuff like that. So moral of the story, long story short, what kept me going was like, just meeting all these new Black people, and knowing that after a long day of class or whatever, I can, go back to my community and hang out with them, and different things like that. And also get to network with the different people, and hopefully, build connections that will be useful in the future.
So you wanted to know fear, what did I think when I got the letter, and then what keeps me going? All right, so my story is, I have an interesting story. So I'll try and be brief, but I'll share about when I went into my master's program, because I think my master's program set me up for my doctorate. So long story short, I was graduated at HBCU, was in the workforce. Then I had this quote unquote epiphany. I was like, this work I'm doing is cool, but it generally sucks. I want to switch to something that's more enriching. So my biggest fear was that I was like, man, I didn't told all these people that I'm gonna, I'm leaving my job. I didn't set myself. I'm gonna apply for these schools. I'm gonna go to graduate school, and I was seeing all my peers go straight from undergrad to grad, and that wasn't my trajectory just yet. And so my biggest fear, as I was going through the motions to set myself up for my master's program, took a leave of absence from my job to go do an internship. And I was like, I'm doing all these things that I think are going to work, but my biggest fear is like, what if they say nah? So that was my biggest fear as I was trying to go into my master's program. Fortunately, I got accepted. And so what did I think? That was like when I got those letters, what I thought was, it's going to work out, right? That gave me, so my story has just been this incremental confidence that has been built by things being strung together in ways that I, couldn't have woven together myself. And what keeps me going is that, it is exactly that, and making ways for other people, just as folks have done for me.
I want to piggyback off of what Dr. Christian said. This was God's plan. First of all, my story is very unique because I only applied to one graduate school. So I was already out there hanging by the skin of my own teeth. And so I was very scared that I didn't have anything else planned. Because I didn't have anything else planned, I didn't know exactly what was going to happen, but I got in. And so once I got in, I pretty much relaxed. I actually worked with Asia Jones in the Upper Bound program the previous summer. And so I got some experience teaching, and I found out that I really do like science. I love teaching and I love mentoring. And so that is what keeps me going. I have about 12 students that I've mentored, undergraduate students, and they've gone on to medical school and graduate school. But the great thing about my lab is I have the only Black professor in the department. And so people who look like us come to us and we get to help them. We get to help them navigate their journey. So the mentorship is what keeps me going. But I'm so glad that this was God's plan because I had nothing else. That was it.
For me, well, this is like fresh out. So biggest fear, I set a lot of time out for grad school applications. Yeah, it was a long time coming for that. So I think my biggest fear was, well, of course, not getting to my top school, which was SDSU, but also just feeling sort of unqualified for the position just because when you are doing these applications in a pandemic and we are online, you don't really get that effect of, oh, I'm applying to grad school, and you kind of that hype that you get when you're in person. Like, I definitely remember when we were in person and upperclassmen were applying, and you kind of feel that, stress, and you feel that kind of push that everybody's going through to get into school. So I didn't really get to feel that. It's like, all right, I'm staring at this computer all day, every day, reading these essays. If I want people to read over it, it's just emailing. I'm not really getting to, have that in-person contact. So it's like, hopefully I'm doing enough to get this done and, really showing who I am as an applicant. But when I did get that letter from SDSU, because it was my third letter that I got. So I got into 3 schools, but I was just waiting. I was like, oh my God, I need to call my mom. Like, I did it. And it was just the best day of my life. Just because I knew the community that I had at SDSU that was really going to push me and help me excel. Like, having Asia, Dr. Green, and Dr. Reddick in the Black Resource Center, I knew that I would be set up for so much more success being at SDSU. And so one of my fears is not getting in because I knew I would have to start that whole process over going to another school. But now here, like, I know that they will give me so much, push me in so many ways that I can't push myself to actually excel as like just a successful Black woman. So that really keeps me going, knowing that I will have this community behind me as I go through this journey. And then I get to continue to work with them, being in the Black Resource Center next year. So I'm super excited about that and just really being pushed and challenged in a way that I can't as an individual to really excel as a student and just as a Black woman in the world. So, yeah.
All right, thank you so much. It feels like time has gone by so quickly. So I think the last question, if there are no questions from the audience, we really want to know what are your plans? What is your plan now? After completing your graduate school, what do you plan to do? And what's next on your plate?
That's the dreaded question, right? Because like, I have some idea. It's funny because like one of the things that I experienced and just kind of had to allow to happen during this doctoral journey is, I've been pretty disciplined in making goals for myself all throughout and having a clear idea of where I want to go, what's next, and kind of engineering these things in advance. Something interesting happened in my doctoral program where I knew that it was just kind of, I wanted to achieve this milestone, but I didn't really have a what next, right? And I get that question often, but I also had to allow myself to just be okay with that, right? Knowing that I will get clarity as I go. And so that's kind of where I am now. I think professionally things are great. I can say practically and immediately, you know, turning my dissertation into, you know, research, presenting at conferences, things of that sort. That's what I at least see for myself with in the next calendar year. Long-term wise, I have some conjectures and some ideas, but it's not as concrete as I like it to be. And I think that if you ask me maybe in 6 months or a year, you'll get a better answer.
Okay, well, I'm actually graduating in August. I'm defending in August. And so this is such a scary question that comes up so much. And so I'm actually scared to say this now, but I'm going to say it anyway because Aisha Jones actually taught me this. You have to speak it into existence. So my career plans are to become a tenure track professor, and I would also like to conduct research. So right now I am currently seeking a postdoctoral position in my field, and I plan to uplift the Black community in STEM. And so since I've made it this far, I have to pull someone up and continue that tradition.
My plans after graduate school, hopefully to, you know, apply to my PhD program. And if not, you know, plan B is always to find a job. So I've just been having, you know, backup plans and things like that because, you know, you don't really know what's going to happen in the future, but you can always have, you know, different plans and backup plans to make sure that you're solid. So that's pretty much what I'm looking forward to, finishing my thesis and then hopefully continuing on with my PhD.
For me, I have my program's 2 years, so hopefully I will be starting in high school as a high school counselor after that. But I know in the back of my head for a long time been telling myself that I want to get into educational policy with the K through 12 system. So definitely considering getting my PhD or my EDV so that I can hopefully get in higher positions. People always speak administration over my life or like superintendent or something like that. So I'm not going to toss it out the window. I definitely want to get my high school counselor experience, but I think I definitely will most likely consider continuing my education to get my doctorate so that I can get in higher positions in the K through 12 system. So, yeah.
And I think we have time to fill this in, and don't worry, we have 2 minutes and we'll be able to clear it up. But I do think that anybody who wants to tackle this, but I think it's the perfect question to kind of end on to encourage somebody. Dr. Early, because we speak it to existence, right? He said his undergraduate degree is in communication. His master's is in business administration, but his passion is side hustle is teach classes on discovering your motivation and gifts. Dr. Early, my undergraduate degree is in communications and my master's is in business administrations. And I'm now in a PhD for education, leadership, and policy, where I use my gift and my motivation and my hustle to motivate other Black girls or Black boys to get their degree. So I think it's where your heart and where your passion is where you go to next. And I think it just might be education. I'd like to close this way go ahead, Dr. Green.
Oh, I was just going to say too that, can you all hear me okay? I had to take out my, I would say to search out different types of programs, but really look at the faculty members that are there and the support that you get, because, that will help you decide where to go to. So if there's a strong faculty there who can mentor you, if, they provide some support for students, and you think that's the place where you can really grow and and shape who you want to be as a professional, then I say that might be the place for you. And sometimes it really doesn't matter the title of your degree. It really oftentimes is about the kind of support that you're going to get there. So you can get an EDD, a PhD, you can get a PhD in communication if you want, but for me, it's about who's there and who will support you in that journey too. So just, something to think about as well.
Did anybody want to add anything to that? Or okay. Dr. Green, if you will chat, Dr. Green is going to drop in the chat a survey about tonight's event. If you'll please fill that out for us, it does provide us some good feedback that we can transfer on to other folks to be able to develop programming like this and make sure that it's beneficial to our community and to our students. The last thing I would like for you all to do, and everybody who's here, and Walter, even if you'll do it too, to the panel, if you will tell me 2 words from your favorite song that deals with graduate school in general. Just 2 words that made you feel about your graduate school experience. Mine are Hit 'Em Up from Tupac.
Can I do mine next?
Yes.
Look, DMX and rest in peace, but y'all gonna make me lose my mind up in here. I know there's more than 2, but that's
Fine. Kiara?
I have more than 2 as well.
Okay, that's fine.
Like, that's a hard.
What'd you say,
Lindsay? No, I'm saying I gotta think. Give me 1 second.
Lindsay?
Mine is going to be a gospel song. Take Me to the King, Tamla Man, the whole song. I need all the words.
Hey, Eric?
I'm still thinking.
Okay,
There's
Mr.
so many emotions.
Yeah, I'm thinking too. I don't know. I think it's a really good question, but I don't know.
It's 2 words.
2 words.
Could be anything from a song that you can just think of off the top of your head, off the cuff.
I would say Champion. I think it was a song you shared with me a couple of months ago. Undefeated. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Got you. Hey, Kiara and Eric and Dr. Early.
All right, I'm gonna go my gospel playlist 2. I'm gonna say Better Days are coming.
Okay. Walter and Dr. Ely, you're last.
Thank you for having me. I'm online. I work at Lincoln University and much age than you all. I'm 64. I'm academic success coach, but I came across your ad on Facebook and I'm so thankful that you keep on inviting me. I can't show myself because I'm in roller sets. I'm on the East Coast, guys. So I'm actually tuning in. Now it is 10:03. But it is awesome, really, really awesome. I like the energy. I like the personalities. I like the positivity. What more can you ask for? So you want a song?
2 words from a song. Yep, 2 or 3 words from a song.
He'll do it again.
Do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Dr. Ely, you're last.
I'm gonna say California love because I would love to get a PhD from a California school. I'd love to come back to SDSU if I could do it remotely from Georgia.
Okay. And here's how this will go. As you know, sometimes it's going to be hard in graduate school, and sometimes it'll make you want to lose your mind up in here. But sometimes you just got to hit them up in the books, and then sometimes you just got to talk to Jesus and say, take me to the King because I'm untired. But if you understand that you're a champion, you'll know that you're undefeated, and you can do it again because better days are ahead, especially when you come to California to get some love.
Nice.
That's awesome.
I love it. I love it.
That's awesome.
to leave you with those words. Those are the words that you chose. Those are the words that you use. And I used your words from songs because those are the words that empowered you in that song. And it's just a reminder to those who are looking at applying for graduate school, those who are in graduate school, and those who have finished, that our words have power and we will finish these degrees. We just have to speak it to existence. And sometimes you got to just pull a little thug out of you to make yourself keep going. We want to thank you for coming out tonight. I want to thank my graduate advisor. This is our second to last event, and we've been at it since January, back to back, nonstop. And it came with a price. There was some pain, but when you have purpose, and I want to speak this into all of you, when you have purpose, it comes with pain and it leads you to the promises. Want to thank the Black Resource Center for co-sponsoring this with us. I want to thank each of our moderators tonight, our panelists tonight. You are all amazing. I personally know each and every one of you, and I'm just so thankful that the King connected me to you all to remind me the Queen in me, and I'm just so thankful for each of you. We have our final event next week with Pastor Teray Roberts and Pastor Roberts. The event is called How Now? Protected and Promised. You'll see in the flyer there's a vault. Inside the vault is your protection, but when you come out of the vault, it's your promise. So even though you're locked and loaded in school, remember there's a promise of walking across the stage and changing somebody's life afterwards. Thank you for coming out Thank you for coming out, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.